Let's go, folks. Time for the Gibby Show.
How you doing, baseball fans? Welcome to another edition of the Gibby Show, presented by Miller Lite, the official beer of Major League Baseball and the Gibby Show. I'm John Arezzi, and joining me, the former two-time manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, a member of the 1986 World Champion New York Mets, co-author of the best-selling book, Gibby Tales of a Baseball Lifer, narrator of the audio version of that book as well. He is the star of the Gibby Show. Let's bring on John Gibbons, direct from San Antonio. How you doing, Gibby?
Johnny, doing good, man. Just another week under our belt, man. Some good, exciting baseball. I know that.
Oh, absolutely. The playoffs have been really wild, and what we're experiencing some very exciting baseball this year. We are getting close to the beginning of the World Series as the exciting championship series both finish. With the champions of both leagues getting ready to battle out in the Fall Classic. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays are knee-deep in making the big decisions that will shape the 2024 season. We'll go over it with you all here today on the Gibby Show and later on Gabbin with Gibby, brought to you by Tim Hortons. We will welcome former Jays pitcher, one of Gibby's favorite go-to guys, big game pitcher Marco Estrada will join us. And inspired by our friends at Miller Lite, we'll have another roast and toast. But Gibby, let's just get started with the leadoff. Gibby, we're going to go right to the Jays before we talk any playoff baseball or anything else. I mean, the organization has begun to make their assessments on the season that just ended with the huge disappointment for Toronto fans and everybody else. And now they're beginning to look at what the 2024 team will look like. You've been there many times at this time of the year when the team begins to process, assess, retool. Based on your days as a manager, take us behind the scenes as to what's going on at this point during the offseason.
Well, Johnny, yeah, it's professional sports, and I can speak to baseball, it's a year-round business. And, front office people, they literally work year-round, And, as coaches, we just go there for the 6 months plus their spring training. And then we get some time off. Those guys, you know what? They gotta, they take a little break. Maybe they're not quite as intense. They don't have those 24-hour days anymore. But it's a tough racket. But this time, it depends on what kind of team you had. If you got a postseason bound team, you're so focused on that. When you're eliminated or win it all, that's when you really start hitting on what you're going to do to repeat or next year. If you're a so-so team like we were a number of years. You start playing in July and August, man, because you're
that early.
Yeah, and what generally happens, I guess, with the manager in the front office, it really depends on what team and the relationships and things like that. One thing I was always conscious of is, as players, managers, and coaches, we want everything, right? We'll take it. It's not our money. There's no budgets for us, this and that, but that's not the reality of it. Front offices have to work within, some guidelines. So in saying that, if you got a good relationship with your general manager, there's constant give and take, or however your front office is structured. I happen to work for the 3 GMs I work for. 2 of them were old friends of mine, right? And so it was like the guys that I'd go hang out with. So yeah, we'd bounce things off each other all the time. And they'd seek out my advice, right? But the bottom line is, if I really like somebody, he can make cost too much money. That's the reality of it all. And so they have to make some adjustments. But a lot of it, they'll say, hey, they come to me and say, what do you think about so-and-so or so-and-so? And I give them my opinion on her. Or they may even ask about one guy on our team. Should we bring him back, or should we, there's somebody wants him, blah, 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 that kind of thing. So so much of it depends on, your relationship with the front office and how you guys work together. With Ross, we didn't know Atkins, we didn't know each other. So it took some time to develop. In the offseason, he bounced some things off of me. Not like the other guys who I'd talk to on the phone regardless, even if it's not baseball, because we have that long-term relationship, But in the end, the front office puts the team together. The manager takes what you give them and runs the show, or is supposed to run the show. So anyway, that's kind of how it all works. But they'll get into it. Next thing you know, they'll have the GM meetings before long. they'll go over, lay the groundwork for things. Then you go to the winter meetings, and a lot of free agent signings or trades are made. You get together with different teams, and everybody goes home and shows up for spring training. So it's a year-round business, especially for those front office guys.
Yeah, it sounds though in your explanation here that you were kind of involved with those decisions, and it really was contingent on the relationship with the front office as well. So, curious to get your comparisons of JP versus Alex when you both involved in the off season stuff. I mean, and then you have to then go to the Atkins era. So it really was probably different dynamics for each one of these individuals running the front office.
Oh yeah, they're definitely. JP, the guy that gave me my first job, up there in Toronto. It was an old teammate of mine. We were roommates, and you included. He's a Boston boy. So he's got that hard edge about him, right? So
Yeah.
we'd I'm a Boston boy, I guess you could say, in my blood, but I'm a little softer, right? And anyway, but we'd battle over guys. He came from that Moneyball era out there in Oakland, right? When Billy Beane and them started Moneyball, and the draw your walks and hit home runs, and no stolen bases, none of that stuff. That was kind of the front runner to all this stuff nowadays. And so, and I like a little bit more of an upbeat game. So we'd battle over certain things about that. I can even remember he came to town. I was managing the year before in Norfolk, Mets AAA, and Terrence Long was on our team, right? And he was Billy Beane. JP was Billy Beane's right hand man out in Oakland. And he came to town to scout Long because it was in his Jason Isringhausen at the time, because they were going to make a deal for that. I can't remember who, Billy Taylor or something. Anyway, so he came in. We were talking about him, and during the game, I'm sitting over in the corner of the dugout. JP's like right there, and I'm talking to him. I said, if he gets on, you want me to run him because you want to watch? He goes, no, we don't do much of that, or something like that. I was to see if he's still a base. He goes, no, we don't worry about that. So anyway, they ended up making the deal. They brought in Terrence Long, who played really good out in Oakland, and Isringhausen became a top closer. And so that's kind of so. Our talking baseball goes way, way back, right? But we didn't agree on everything. You're not supposed to. And we'd hash it out. We'd fight and that kind of thing. Then Alex came along. Alex was JP's one of his assistant GMs, and he, of course, took over when JP left. So we automatically had a relationship. He was a little more guarded than JP, because he's not from Boston, man. In Bostonians, they don't care. They don't care what you think, right? It's just like you New Yorkers, man. Between New York and Boston, for crying out loud, there goes the country. Anyway, so so it was probably a little bit more civil, but we had our battles and disagreements. But in the end, the manager has to realize the general manager is the boss. We all have bosses, and then of course, president's the boss of the GM, and then of course the owner, right? It's just like now. Atkins is the boss of Snyder and that staff, and then Shapiro is his boss, and then you got Rogers, right? That's just the way it works, and everybody's got a place, but it always works best if everybody's allowed to give their opinion. And I used to tell the JP and those guys all the time, because they'd ask the coaching staff too their opinion, which is very important. I said, listen, this is what you got to let everybody have their say. Now you're going to do what you want to do and what you think is best for the team. Because what happens if you don't let everybody have the say, that's when people cut you up, man. Because they say, well, and then you make a move and they go, oh, what a stupid move, right? But if they have a chance to put their own, thoughts on the line, we'll put thoughts on the table. You had your say, it didn't work out, but then so I think that's important and healthy for an organization, but I don't necessarily think it's run that way most places now. I think because opinion on players, your visual appearances or the intestinal stuff, that kind of isn't as valued as much as numbers. They just can look at the AI stuff. So
and now the printouts that you receive are like, it's rather than the gut feeling, it's like every nuance is on paper now. So it's got to be a lot different. And I would assume that the three personalities that you worked for, JP and Alex and of course Ross, what different styles that they have. I mean, because Ross looks like an analytical guy, looks like kind of a CPA, But
but Ross was new to the job. We didn't know each other.
Yeah.
But Ross would also ask my opinion of things. it was I don't he did at the time when he was just starting out, he didn't have the freedom those other guys did, to call the shots necessarily because he was just learning the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
But he, in all three cases, it's funny, but over half the guys I wanted, we never got. I don't know what the problem. Maybe they were making too much money. We're trying to get all them Hall of Famers, like they had back in the '92 and '93.
Gibby, you'd probably make a good GM.
Well, yeah, I think I would. That's every fan out there. That's the beauty of baseball, right?
Yeah.
You, me, our guys behind the scenes, everybody fan out there watches games, have an opinion on what they like, what they think you should do. That's the beauty of baseball. Everybody can get involved like that, right? And who knows who's right and who's wrong in the end. But somebody's got to make a decision, live with it, and somebody's got to be accountable.
That is very, very true. Well, some really cool news broke this week. The Baseball Hall of Fame's contemporary baseball era managers, executives, and umpires ballot was announced. A candidate needs 75% of the votes from the committee to be elected into the Hall of Fame. The announcement is going to be made live on MLB tonight at 7:30 p.m., Sunday, December 3rd, from the baseball winter meetings in Nashville. This year's list is pretty cool. It includes names like Davey Johnson, Jim Leyland, your friend Joe West, among others. There's one name on that list Toronto fans are going to be very excited to learn about. 894 career wins as manager, member of the Blue Jays level of excellence, skipper of the Jays' 2 World Series championship teams, none other than Cito, Gaston, Gibby. He's been on the show. He's a friend, great guy, wonderful career. Could this finally be the year that Cito is enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Hey, let's hope so. You know what? I've never necessarily understood how they gauge managers other than win championships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's longevity. Some guys are around longer, so they win more games and all that. But if you go by, he's got 2 championships, right? The other guys on the list, Davey's got 1. Been to the postseason many times, but 1 championship. Jimmy Leland's got 1, and those 2 are my favorite guys. Jimmy Leland, definitely a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. When everybody talks, another great one, Terry Francona, right? He's got 2 championships. He's been to a couple more, but okay. So Cito's got everything. Even Dusty Baker, who's everybody's a lock. He had a great playing career. Cito had a great playing career, and now they stepped in. Dusty's only got 1 championship. Could win another one when this is all said and done, but that would only tie Cito. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying he deserves recognition. And if I don't know what they base it off of, but if it's got to be championships, I would hope. If that's the case, he definitely deserves it, right? And he's one of the good guys. So let's hope so.
Definitely. And another name on that ballot, Davey Johnson. How do you compare like a Davey Johnson to a Cito, their styles? Because obviously you know them both.
Yeah, you know what? I don't necessarily know Cito's style if viewing it up front, but everything I've heard about him, players, managers, guys loved him. He let you go out there and play. Davey was the same way. Davey had tremendous confidence in himself and in his players, right? One thing he did, he never he didn't talk a lot either. If he wanted to do something, he'd go through his coaches a lot to go to the player and things like that. But he gave me my first shot in the big leagues. It didn't last, didn't work out, but he's the guy. And it's funny, Cito's a San Antonio guy. Davey Johnson's from San Antonio. So but Davey was kind of one of the I don't think he's recognized, but kind of the forerunners to all the analytics because he was a big numbers guy and he used his computer to very, very smart strategist, but just ooze confidence, right? And that's the thing that stands out for me the most. He let the boys play. He knew bottom line, all these guys we're talking about, all had good players. That's the key. Sometimes, that's the right team's got to shine on you now too. These players got to shine on you.
That's true, Davey. Of course, I remember as manager of the Mets, and you were there in '86. Of course, he was early analytics guy. I mean, the press guide for New York Mets in 1984 was a picture of Davey sitting behind a computer, and computers weren't even that relevant back then when it came to the game of baseball.
Hey, I will tell you this though, Davey ain't gonna yank you out of the game, man. If a number tells him to do it, he's gonna see how you're pitching. One of the best things too because I was young when I made 21, and so I'm just learning the ropes, But I always work with pitchers really good. But we were talking one day, and I was asking about bullpens and bullpen usage or something, and he said what he'd always do early in the season, right? If a pitcher got in the jam, middle innings, or even starting to get later, he said, whether it's a starter or even if it's a reliever he brought in there, he said early in the season he'd give him a chance to get out of it, right? See if they could do it at least one or two times, right? If they prove they could, he's got something there. He knows he can trust these guys, right? You don't have to yank them at the first sign of trouble. If they prove to you they can't, you know what? Now you know, and when you go out to take them out, they can't say a damn word because, hey, I gave you a chance a few times and you proved you couldn't do it. Shut up, right? And I thought that's brilliant. That's the truth. But also it showed confidence in the guys. And even early on in my career that didn't last, he wasn't going to pinch hit for me early in the season. He was going to let me, if I'm playing the game because I was supposed to be their future, what have you. So that's important. That's what's lost in the game nowadays. And he would, but you had guys like Strawberry, Good, and those guys coming along. Them young guys, Darling at the time they were youngsters, Sid Fernandez. See, these are our guys. You put them out there, let them go through the tough times. You know who did a wonderful job with that was Ned Yost over there in Kansas City when I was his bench coach. He had all these young guys coming up. Yeah, you might take a pounding a little bit. These guys are going to play. They got the talent to be a championship team. They felt that's exactly what happened. But you got to, you can't let a number dictate everything because you're trying to build something. You're trying to build everyday players and everyday pitchers and multi-inning pitchers. But the game's changed. I get that.
But we wish them all the best of luck in that vote. I mean, it would be really cool to see a couple of these guys get into the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, big Joe West too. Joe and Eddie Montague, man, another longtime umpire. Joe's got to get in on there for crying out loud.
I mean, that would be great. That would be great. So we'll continue.
They're all worthy.
That. We'll continue to follow that right here. You are listening to the Gibby Show, presented by our friends at Miller Lite, and I'm telling you, John, I'm enjoying my Miller Lights watching these playoffs, and it's so hard to contain yourself sometimes. And I just take that can of Miller Lite, and I'm just like, I need it.
Well, as long as you're not throwing it at the TV for crying out loud,
No, I'm not. No, I mean,
don't waste it.
No, I will not waste a drop for sure. They are the official beer of Major League Baseball and the Gibby Show. And Gibby, as we both know, any time is Miller time.
And you know what, man? For a light beer, they taste like a full-leaded beer, man.
They absolutely do.
Corner blues, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
Game 5 of this year's ALCS had it all, from the huge 3-run home run by Adolis Garcia off of Justin Verlander that put the Rangers ahead in the 6th inning, to Garcia watching, walking, and spiking his bat and a slow trot around the bases, to him getting drilled by the first pitch by a 99-mile-per-hour fastball by Astros reliever Brian Abreu in the 8th inning. Then Garcia goes after Houston catcher Martin Maldonado. The bench is clear. Abreu, Garcia, and Astros manager Dusty Baker all get ejected. Houston comes back to win the game when the unbelievable Jose Altuve, and I can't believe this guy, hits the 3-run homer in the top of the 9th. Final score 5-4 Houston. Gibby, compare this game to Game 5 of the ALDS in 2015 when your Blue Jays off the bat flip heard round the world by Jose Bautista beat the Rangers. And what was probably your most memorable moment, correct me if I'm wrong, as a Blue Jays manager. Did this game remind you of that night at all years ago?
Well, other than poor Texas Rangers, they were involved in the short end of both those.
They were.
Well, you know what? There wasn't any brawls in our game but it led to one in the following year. But
following year,
where there's some similar, the excitement of it all, right? It's ours was an elimination game. This wasn't quite eliminated, but it's close, right? It's gonna who's gonna take control of the series. But the fact that you gain the lead late, and that's what Texas did against us with Odor scoring that run on that crazy play.
Yeah.
And then Batista coming through, Mr. Clutch, Mr. Dramatics, right? And then of course they're down. We didn't have the brawl, but then here comes Altuve, one of the second all time in playoff home runs, I think, right?
Amazing.
And danger to a changeup is going down and into. You throw anything down and into that kid, it's trouble. It proved it once again, But yeah, just the intensity of playoff baseball. We got to salute the Astros too, man. What is it? The sixth or seventh straight year they've been in the championship series. I mean,
it's a dynasty.
They're the more so than anybody, And it's crazy though to think they haven't been able to win at home all year. There are a few games under 500 on the season, which is really hard to believe, isn't it? But it's one of those crazy things you can't figure out. So we'll see. All they got to do is win one at home tonight to finish off that series. So we'll see how that happens.
Yeah, I do have a follow up for you. Dusty Baker went wild after the Abreu ejection. He said that after the game, he knew he went too far when he got a call from his stepmom, which started off with her saying, "Johnny D. Baker." He knew he was in trouble at that point. It's hard to even visualize this. And a guy, Dusty's like 75 or whatever he is, and his stepmom calls him. Gibby, the question for you, did your mom, Sally, ever call you after an ejection to scold you?
Not immediately, no. But she had some advice for me along the way. There's no doubt about it. What you got to be careful about nowadays, and there's microphones everywhere, right? And I had a couple of ejections, and if it's around home plate area, they got the mics, and you can hear everything you say, and it's on social media, and it can be embarrassing because I've had my kids say, "Dad, we heard you say this," and I'm going, and that's a lot more important than me getting out my frustration sometimes. But for my mother's a little bit hard of hearing right now, so that's probably a good thing she couldn't hear it on the mic. Otherwise, she would have called me instantaneously, But hey, I loved it, Dusty. You know what happened there, right? This is a bit, this is playoff time baseball, right? And beanballs, so many times nobody knows for sure whether it was intentional or not. A lot of times, it may happen after something. When we're going to talk about Garcia later, it was trot. I don't know if it was a trot or it was a walk. But so when that happens, there's always thinking, "Oh, something's going to happen," right? But then the magnitude of the game, it's still a close game. Nobody would order that to happen, or I don't think anybody would do anything about that, right? In that situation. So you never really know for sure. So if that's the case, Dusty's arguing for his guy. Come on, really? You think he's going to do that, this and that? And then the umpires chunk him, right? And now the worst part about it, they're going through an appeal process, and they can't even make a decision on that. A few days after it happened, let's go, commissioner's office. So I'd say this: so if you're going to suspend, they got to suspend him because they threw him out of the game for it, right? Tack it on to the next year. Don't leave a team shorthanded because you do not know for sure whether it was intentional or not. There's been some things in the past, but it wasn't for beanballs. I don't think in the playoffs. I don't think anybody would do that. I think somebody was even talking about Bart Giamatti when was it Giamatti or didn't suspend somebody after a beanball because he didn't want to leave a team shorthanded, or maybe it was one of the other commissioners, after Bowie Kuhn. But yeah, don't interfere because unless you know 100%. Guys, Jay Howell, I think because he had pine tar and thing. Okay, that's different, right? But you don't know intent, the guy. So anyway, but I love Dusty doing about it. Slow down, Dusty, man. It ain't working.
He didn't want to leave that dugout. He was sitting there like just and he wasn't going. And then finally, I guess they can't continue the game, right? No. Until Dusty leaves. I mean, they just can't continue. Throw a pitch or anything. He's got to go.
No, exactly.
Wow. Anyway, I mean, that was kind of exciting to see. And then he gets the call from his stepmom. So that was kind of a great way to end off this leadoff, Gibby. And now it's time for Gabbing with Gibby, brought to you by Tim Hortons. 4 delicious loaded bowls are now available from Tim Hortons restaurants across Canada. Try the new Chipotle Steak Bowl for something savory, the new Barbecue Crispy Chicken Bowl for something smoky, the Cilantro Lime Chicken Bowl for zesty, or the Habanero Chicken Bowl for something spicy. All 4 bowls are packed with hearty ingredients, including tasty greens, lettuce, fresh diced tomatoes, and cucumbers, which are topped off with a creamy, flavorful sauce for an awesome meal. Gibby, these things sound too good. And have you partaked at all, or you waiting for your next visit up to Canada?
Well, I'll definitely do it then. Hey, you can even put a donut on top of that, man. Mix that donut. You can have a bowl, of pastry, get you some multiple drinks they have there, man, hot or cold.
You could do a good compliment with a quencher, another baked good. It just sounds like a meal that's going to keep you going all day.
Oh yeah, and then yeah, exactly. Then you don't have to eat the rest of the day.
Today on Gabbing with Gibby, brought to you by Tim Hortons, we bring on a former member of the Toronto Blue Jays. He pitched for the Jays from 2015 to 2018, raking up 39 wins as a Jay, including a fabulous postseason in 2015 that'll long be remembered by Blue Jays fans. He was also Blue Jays Pitcher of the Year that year, as voted by the Toronto chapter of the Baseball Writers Association of America. He played 12 years in the big leagues, was an all-star in 2016, had over 1,000 strikeouts during his career with the Washington Nationals, Milwaukee Brewers, the Blue Jays, and Oakland. It's a pleasure to welcome Marco Estrada to Gabbing with Gibby. Marco, great to meet you.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Marco. Hey, one of my all-time favorites here, buddy. And you know what? One of all Blue Jays fans' all-time favorites. When I put out I'm like a social media darling, believe it or not, right now. Can you believe that? But
I can't believe it, Gibby. I never thought I'd see the day.
I know it's at a necessity, but I put that out that you were going to be on the show. I don't know how many people got excited and responded, and so we're glad you're here. But also, it's that time of year, playoff time, right? When starting pitchers rise to the top, right? And when the games becomes all about pitching. And I've never seen a better starting pitcher, a big game guy than you. And I watched you do it for a couple of years. And I said, this is perfect time to get Marco on here. He's too humble to brag about himself, but we're going to brag a little bit about you.
No, I appreciate it, Gibby.
Yeah. Hey, Marco, you were a special pitcher, and you know what? But there was something about you in big games. I don't think I've ever seen or had a pitcher that was more composed. You didn't get rattled at all. I mean, I could never really understand it. And so I'd talk with Pete Walker or the other coaches around and go, yeah, that's our guy, man. How many elimination games you pitched to save our season, keep us alive. So anyway, welcome aboard. So Johnny's going to start it off. We'll go a little bit back and forth, and then we'll let you go out and hit that golf course again. How's that?
Sounds good, Gibby. I appreciate it.
All right, fire away, Johnny.
All right, thanks, Gibby. Marco, you were traded to the Blue Jays on November 1st, 2014 from the Brewers, where you spent 5 years, for Adam Lind. You avoided arbitration, signed a 1-year deal with Toronto, and went to spring training, competing for the 5th spot in a crowded Jays rotation. You wound up starting the season in the Jays bullpen and was put into the rotation on May the 1st. Tell us about those early days with the Jays after the trade and playing in Canada, where you now represented an entire country.
Yeah, first, I'm not going to lie, that the call, when I was told I was being traded to Toronto, my family wasn't too excited, just because spring training for me was in Arizona. I'm living here now, and I was living here then. So they didn't want me moving. So having to move to Florida for spring training, and then obviously being in a different country during the season, we didn't take it too well. We weren't really sure what to expect. But I'll tell you what, as soon as I got there, I fell in love with the country, the city of Toronto, everything. And then having Gibby there, who to this day was by far the best manager I ever had. I'm not just saying that because he's on here,
Yeah.
but he's just easy to talk to, man. Easy to talk to, and I really enjoyed, my time in Toronto with him.
Mark, I appreciate that, Marco. I really do. And but as a manager, you got good players, man. You got good people. It makes our job a heck of a lot easier. But back to that, when we got you, we really didn't know what we were going to do with you. You in Milwaukee. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were a swing guy. You pitched out of the pen and you started. And so when we got you, it was just kind of up in the air. What's Marco going to do? And we eventually settled on, the bullpen, right? Why did we put you in that rotate? Was it out of necessity? We wanted to give you an opportunity. I don't even remember. Do you remember?
So in that spring training, I had missed some time, and I wasn't built up to start. So that was
okay.
The thing.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys wanted to see build me up a little bit, throw me in the bullpen, which I had done before and I was comfortable doing. But obviously, I wanted to start. But I do remember when I went into the bullpen, my first day, I gave up a home run. And I was like, oh my God, this is starting off terribly already. Spring training didn't go very well, which it never did. And I had talked to Pete Walker about that before. I told him, hey, listen, I'm going to throw all fastballs here. I'm going to get lit up. And I did. I gave up 7 runs, I think, in maybe 2/3 of an inning. And luckily I had said something before because you guys probably would have released me by then. But yeah, I went into the season relieved, gave up that 1 run, and then I don't know what changed. My mentality completely changed talking to the guys in that clubhouse. And, kind of, I don't know if I gave up another run in the pen, but I was starting to really enjoy my time in the bullpen. And I was like, if starting isn't going to work out for me, I am loving what I'm doing here in the bullpen. So whatever keeps me up here, I'd be happy with. But luckily, you guys gave me an opportunity to start, and then I guess never look back.
See, I had forgot about that. The innings issue and the health issue and all that. Because I thought maybe we were really just stupid. We weren't very smart or something. But I'm glad you bailed us out.
I didn't pitch very well in spring training, and I don't remember ever pitching well in spring training. Just because I would try the same thing every year and just let's try to really focus on locating down and away. And it just would never work out. I didn't throw very hard, so trying to sneak fastballs by guys just wasn't going to work. So it wouldn't go too well, and it'd be the same outcome every year. But so I don't blame you guys, even if there wasn't an injury and you guys just didn't see me as a starter, to throw me in the pen just because spring training didn't go well at all.
But you know what, though, Mark, in reality, you look at all good pitchers or starting pitchers, right? They go down. Your spring training is to get your work in, build your innings up, work on your game like that. And sometimes if we don't know you, we have a tendency to focus on results a little more, even though that's unfair because it's spring training, right? We're with the good ones, and they say, okay, so that's how that all, So, but hey, it all worked out, man. I can tell you that right now.
It did work out, but it's true though. It's true. The veteran guys have that luxury of being able to go in and actually work on stuff. Whereas a rookie, you got to come in ready. You have to strike people out. You have to get outs because that's depending if you're going to make the team or not. So being a veteran, you do have that luxury of just coming in and actually working on stuff, which I would do. But I knew I had to tell Pete before that, listen, it's not going to go well, but I'm going to do this and just follow me. And luckily he did.
And we got smarter. Go ahead, Johnny.
I want to take you back to 2015. You had 2 huge wins in the postseason, holding Texas to 1 run in that potential elimination game for the Jays, keeping the season alive. And then once again in the ALCS, your performance against the Royals in Game 5, 7-1. You faced the minimum number of batters through 6 2/3. That was the longest streak for an AL starting pitcher in the postseason since Don Larson's perfect game in 1956. You only allowed the 1 run. It was a homer to Salvador Perez with 2 outs in the 8th. And this is a question for both you, Marco, and for Gibby. How badly did you want to finish that game? And Gibby, how hard of a decision was it to take Marco out after that gem of a performance?
Yeah, it was obviously you always want to finish. And if it were up to me, I would have finished the game. But I do understand that there's the pitch count and everything. But I think I remember them saying, listen, we actually wanted to pull you out because you deserve some sort of acknowledgement for what you did today. And obviously I really appreciate that, because it's top 3 loudest stadiums I've ever heard in my life when I walked off that field. And obviously the Batista bat flip, that was probably the loudest I've ever heard any stadium. But when I walked off that field, how loud it was, it just made you appreciate that move, to give me that acknowledgement. I'm very thankful for that, because I could have easily finished the inning. There wouldn't have been any clap. Obviously, you're walking off the field and you get some claps or whatnot, but no one knows if I'm going back out or not. So the ovation's just not the same. So it was nice to be able to walk off the field, get the ovation and the appreciation. And I really appreciate that.
Hey, I remember you said to me, hey, let me finish this. Well, now, hey, go tip your hat, brother. But
yeah, I did. But there was a game, and I'm sure we're going to get into that one, was the Texas one. That one, I tried hard. I tried hard not to come off that field, because we were on the road. So I don't care about any ovations or anything on the road. And I wanted to finish that game. I mean, it was the 9th inning. I needed 2 more outs. And I don't know if you saw me, but as you're coming out to get me, I'm yelling at you I got this. Like, get out of here, Gibby. It's my game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
one. What's that?
Well, hey, that's a think about it. We dropped the first 2 to Texas at home. It's best, right. Best 3 out of 5.
Right.
And we never, I had never lost confidence. We knew you were pitching, and our guys on our team, you know what? Hey, we thought we could win, right? So we go down there, but we had the perfect guy on the mound down there, right? And yeah, you threw a gem to keep the season alive, But that's kind of you're from a different era. You got a different mentality. I don't know how. I can't ever remember you not going at least 6 innings. I'm talking about regular season. Anything? Did you ever go less than 6 innings at a start? Might have been.
Many times. 17 and 18 for sure, but 15 and 16. Yeah, I wasn't going to come out of the game. I begged to be left in there every single time. I hated being pulled out. I just enjoyed my time, because you only get to pitch once every 5 days. So you better give it your all every time you're out there. And that's what I wanted to do.
Well, it's not just that, though. It's a production, man. You don't just leave you out there if you're getting hit around or something. But sure. I can remember saying to Pete Walker so many times that Marco does this easier than anybody I've ever seen. You would dominate games. How hard you throw? What was it, 91, 92?
Maybe on a good day.
Okay, compare. Nowadays, but you were a pitcher, right? And I still haven't seen as good a changeup as you had in baseball. I watch plenty of games still. Where did you learn that changeup anyway, man?
Yeah, when I was coming up through the system, I was a fastball curveball thrower. Didn't have a changeup, didn't have a cutter, didn't have a sinker, didn't have anything. Just literally fastball curveball. And in the minor leagues, it just wasn't going well. I was around the plate a little too much and just needed something to throw guys off. So one of our first rounders, we were playing catch one day, and he's throwing me his changeup, and I'm going, man, this thing is nasty. I got to pick this guy's brain. So I ended up asking him that day how he held it, what his mindset was when he was throwing it and whatnot. And literally, I think I pitched 3 or 4 days later, and I brought it out, and I had finally had a really good start. And I was like, there's something to this. And guys would ask me all the time how I threw this changeup, but I told them it's a feel thing. You either have it or you don't. It's really hard to just create one. And luckily, the first day I threw that, it just felt right, and it just stuck with me.
And I tell you, what a dominating pitch too. And yet, so you were primarily fastball changeup, but you'd also drop that hook in there, just keep everybody honest, or maybe, just whatever it was. But I can only, how many times I said to Pete, Pete, Marco dominates a game with throwing 91 miles an hour more than anybody I've ever seen, man. How the heck does he do it? Next thing you look up at the scoreboard, game starts. Next thing you know, you look up there, 6th inning at least. You're going. Happens every time. So anyway.
Yeah, no, it was fun. And my favorite thing to do was get those infield pop flies pointing up in the air. Loved it. Loved it more than strikeouts. There's something about those just really enjoyed it. But yeah, I was, you try to be efficient and keep your pitch count low, which I don't know if I was good at that. But
Yeah, you were.
I do remember they showed us a stat on 3-2 counts, and I think I led the team on 3-2 counts, and maybe I tried to pick a little too much or whatnot, but I always felt like a hitter was going to swing on a 3-2 count, and I think that's why I would get a decent amount of strikeouts at the time, because I'd get to 3-2 counts, and you actually can expand a little bit more, and most hitters would swing for some reason. I don't know what it was about a 3-2 count, but guys love to swing on that.
Yeah, well, they're expecting a strike, and they don't want to go down looking.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I watch games now, and now I can actually really pay attention to this because I'm a fan now. And but man, it's crazy how often guys swing. They'll take 3-0, 3-1, easy takes. They get to 3-2, and they are swinging every single time. It's insane.
You're right.
Pitchers need to use that to their advantage.
Load up for lunch or dinner with Tim's Loaded Bowls. Packed with hearty ingredients for a satisfying meal. And there's 4 delicious flavors to choose from.
I like the flavor. That's so good.
It's time to load up with Loaded Bowls. It's time for Tim's.
Hey, let me ask you, Mark, what do you think about today's game as far as the pitching? I mean, it's like, I'm not a huge fan of analytics. Obviously,
I'm not either.
Because in the fact, not only that, we're in the championship series and you're watching bullpen games, and it's like, where are the starting pitchers at? Where they're, there's guys have trouble going deeper in the game, but then they don't even let them try, and it's like, and you wonder why. And those guys, this poor dudes down the bullpen, man, they can't lift their arms. They're going, oh, guys, see, so the game, I don't even enjoy watching it a lot now.
No, it's driving me crazy. There's guys that definitely have earned the right to stay in there, deserve to stay in there. But they're being pulled 3rd, 4th, 5th inning, and it's blowing my mind. Now, if guys are getting hit around, that's one thing. But if you're giving up 1 or 2 hits and you're being pulled, like, what are we doing here? And maybe the numbers say to do stuff like that, but numbers aren't everything all the time, and especially in baseball. Baseball, you just never know. But I know if that would have been me back then, the general manager or someone upstairs is going to hear it, because there's no way I'm coming out in the 3rd, 4th inning after giving up a hit or walking someone, or, we got into a lot of arguments, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's
so different, and guys are better. Everybody's throwing 100 now. Maybe that's why they're pulling them. Maybe the arm can't sustain that long. I don't know.
Well, I don't think they're better. I don't think they throw harder, but I think the skill level, I don't think the skill levels is good. The feel of pitching, the breaking balls.
I actually agree. Yeah, I agree.
Because everybody,
the field's not there.
No, they just come in and air it out like a late inning reliever, basically. And then, but it's that's the way the game is now. So what are you going to do about it?
There's been a lot of performances. I've watched probably every playoff game. I've watched more baseball this year than any other year, and it was tough the first year to watch anything. And I had watched thousands of games in my lifetime, in the dugout, which I loved. But being a fan and having to watch on TV, I didn't really enjoy it the first year. So it took some time. But now that, this is the 4th year I've been retired now, and I've watched more baseball than ever, and probably more than most. But I pay attention. I pay attention to everything, and I critique a lot. It's a lot easier to critique when you're not out there doing it anymore. But yeah, I've watched a ton of baseball and I enjoy it, but the game has changed so much. And these playoff games there's some games that are driving me nuts where the starting pitcher's being pulled so early for no reason. It's just crazy to see. Like, sometimes you just gotta go with your gut feeling, man, and leave those guys out there.
Not only know if it's your gut, man, it's your eyes, man. Dude, this guy's dealing. It makes it even worse now. Is the commentators they like lay the groundwork. Well, he's getting up to X amount of pitches here. He's in the 5th inning. You think he's going to leave him in, and they kind of, you set the table. Like I was watching that Texas Houston game. They were talking about Evaldi. I'm thinking Evaldi looks fine to me. I mean,
he looks fine to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And all the bullpen struggles they've had, why would you think of taking him out? You're getting those starts that you want, you know?
I'm leaving him in until he tells me he's done, which wouldn't happen. I don't see a guy like Evaldi ever saying he's done. I'm leaving him in as long as he get you as close to 100, or if not, I would even go over 100. That could have been your last game. Like, I'm going out with my guy.
Yeah.
I'm going out with my starting pitcher. Let him do his thing, which he did. He did a great job. Did what he had to do. Got them. Was it 6 innings?
Yeah.
But you always want to have your starting pitcher go as long as he can, for sure.
Yeah, but the commentator, why even bring it up? So, Johnny, go ahead. What do you got for Marco? We got to get him on that putting green pretty soon here.
Yeah, you got it. But I wanted to talk about 2015, but just to follow up on what you guys are talking about. So I guess the Jose Barrios removal in Game 2 was.
I didn't want to talk about that.
It was rough. It really was. I mean, everyone's talking about it, but it was a rough. And I understand what you guys are saying. It was a very difficult situation. But let's go back to 2015 then. Of course, you had 2 fabulous back-to-back games where you took no hitters into the 8th inning. One against the Orioles, and your very next start, you took a perfect game into the 8th, broken up by a weak little infield single. And a 2-part question here about 2015. What do you remember about those 2 heartbreaking games, first of all? And how special was it to be part of that 2015 Toronto Blue Jay squad?
So the 2, 7-inning no-hitters or whatever it was, the first one, no joke, all I thought to myself the entire time was, how am I doing this right now? I am all over the place. I'm not locating anything. I got away with a lot of stuff that day. I think I ended up throwing 128 pitches, which was probably the most in my career.
No way. That's 2 starts nowadays. Sorry.
But I mean, you have a no-hitter going, and I know there's no chance in hell you guys would have taken me out, regardless of what the pitch count was. And I would have told you the same. I'm not coming out. I don't care if I throw 200 pitches. I'm getting this done. But as soon as that hit was done, you came out, I think before the ball even landed. But that game, I was all over the place. So I was just, I don't know. It was luck. It was more luck than anything, I think, or just right pitch at the right time, because I don't remember locating very well. Now, the Tampa game, that game, I was locating. Felt right. Everything felt good. And I thought I was going to do it. And, people try not to think about it. I knew what was going on. And still, the hit I gave up it's not like it was frush, which I wish it would have been. Luckily, it was justified later. I think Kiermaier came up and hit a rocket up the middle or something, line drive to center. So it was justified, and it was a great game. The defense was incredible. Obviously, Donaldson made that one play, and he almost made that one ground ball play also. But I think it was Forsythe that beat it out. The defense was incredible. Navarro called a great game, as he always did. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then what was the second question?
It was just, how special was it to be part of that 2015 squad? What a special year.
Obviously, it was very special. I think to this day, it was one of the best teams put together. You know what? That team helped me out a lot. They helped me out mentally because it wasn't like that in Milwaukee. Milwaukee, most veterans were – it's almost like they ganged up on you. And maybe because I was a rookie and, I just kind of kept to myself. But it felt like it wasn't the same. With Toronto, guys wanted to make you feel better. They boosted your confidence every single day. And I think that's what changed my career. And it's not like I did bad with Milwaukee. I pitched really well, but the confidence wasn't quite there. I didn't really believe in myself like I did in Toronto. And those guys did that for me.
It was kind of an odd bunch, so wasn't it, Marco? Man, it was a good.
It sure was. It was completely different. Everybody was about flair and style and whatnot. The showboating, which I didn't showboat. I didn't like it. But
no.
You know what? If it made the guys mentally stronger, go ahead and do it. Showboat, do whatever you have to do to make you a better baseball player, because I wanted to win. So it was a lot of fun.
Personalities, man. Oh, that was a lot of fun, man. You were such a big part of that. All right, real quick. Hey, for young pitchers out there, everybody wants to pitch in the big leagues, the kids. You got any advice for young kids starting out that might help them along the way?
Yeah, well, when you're young, I think you should, and obviously I'm going to say this, but you should develop a changeup early on. There's no need for a curveball. And I'm talking about, 10, 11, even 12. You shouldn't start throwing a curveball till maybe high school or start practicing maybe a little before then. But I would stick to the changeup, fastball changeup, because I did it in the major leagues. So you're telling me that's not going to work down there with, 10, 11-year-olds? It's going to work. Practice that, perfect it. Obviously, you got to work hard. I would hate days that practice would get canceled when it would rain. So I obviously love the game. So if you love it, work your butt off, and man, don't take no for an answer, because I got told no a million times throughout my entire career. Before the major leagues, didn't play varsity baseball till my senior year. I don't know if a lot of people know that. Had to go the junior college route, and even then was still told no. And but there's no giving up in me. So I think that's the biggest thing is, if someone tells you no, you just brush that off, and you just keep working hard and do your job.
Yeah, I did not know that. I'll be darned. You know what?
Yeah.
Hey, Burley was the same way. Burley got cut his first 2 years in high school.
Really?
Yeah, and then then his dad came to him and said, "Why don't you try out one more time?" And he went back. It was his junior year, I guess, and made it. Or was his senior, and made it, and then went on to college. Basically, the same. I'll be darned, man.
That's incredible.
You kidding me? Yeah.
I had no idea. I didn't know that about Burley.
Yeah.
That's
what do you think,
Burley? So well.
Hey, hey, Burley ain't doing a whole lot these days except hunting and fishing, man. You're out there golfing, Burley. We had him on the show a while back.
Nice.
He's living the good life too, man.
Yeah, I reach out. Probably I should reach out more. But the phone does work both ways. But
that's right.
He knows he was probably my favorite teammate of all time, and I looked up to him more than anybody. And I reach out to him, but I just look up to the guy, and I don't want to bug him. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, did I lose you guys?
No, we're right here.
Okay. But yeah, I look up to him, so I don't want to bug him, but I do reach out at least once a year. But I do need to do a better job, because man, I miss that guy. He's the best.
Hey, you ain't gonna bug him, but yeah, he was the left-handed version of a complete pitcher. You were the right-handed version of a complete pitcher. We got both on the same team. And you know what? That's what the name of the game is. That's what pitching's all about. So listen, pal. Hey, we understand you do a lot of golfing now. Russell Martin's a part of your group now?
Oh yeah. Russ is out here. He moved out about a month ago. We've gone out a few times already and played. And I just found out that David Price is out here too. So I got to reach out to him and get that group going. We're gonna have a lot of fun. But Pilar's also here, and now that he's back home, I got to give him some time. But he'll get out. He likes to play a little bit too. So we've got a nice little group going.
Hey, Kev, man, Kev's still going strong. Kev must be a dead hooker, man, even on that golf course. That's like that baseball swing. He's hooking it all.
Well, yeah, big slice. But you know what? He plays it. He plays the slice, so he knows his game. So he'll aim left. Oh yeah, he'll aim left and hit it. He'll slice the crap out of it, but it'll go right down the middle. He knows what he's doing. Big slice, but he knows how to work.
He knows how to play. Well, good, man. Will you make sure you tell all those boys hello for us, will you?
I will do, Gibby, man. It's so good hearing from you and seeing you. We got to catch up and talk some more.
All right, Marco. Thanks, pal.
All right, good seeing you.
Thank you, buddy.
That wraps up another Gabbing with Gibby. And Gibby, what a great guy. Very cool guy.
Yeah, Marco's one of the best, man. He really is. I always kind of, naturally as a major league manager, you got to have talented players, and that's the number one thing, but you get some nut jobs, you get some good guys, you get all types, but the guys that really stand out, but guys like Marco, that regardless of how good they are on the field, just good people, that you enjoy being around, good family guys, all that stuff, and he's at the top of the list with that. But I tell you what, he did a heck of a job for us here in Toronto. And like I said, you know what? If you need a big game pitch, I can't think of anybody I'd rather have pitch it than him.
Yeah, definitely. You have had full confidence in him, and that was great to see you guys interact the way you did. Now, inspired by our friends at Miller Lite, it's time for this week's Roast and Toast. And Gibby, I understand that this week's roast, I'm going to pass it over to you because you had a little roasting to do for somebody that hit a home run and caused a little controversy this week, Adolis Garcia.
Yeah, how ironic. We look back on our days we were playing the Rangers in 15 and, Batista with the old bat flip, right? That bat flip, gosh, the bat flip was nothing in comparison to this home run celebration or trot or walk, whatever. And you know what? I get it. Everybody celebrates a big moment. I get all that. But basically to walk to first base, then slam your bat, maybe we go a little bit too far in this game. But, you got the green light from up top, that, hey, let the boys play, that kind of thing. But you got when it gets carried away to that point, you got to expect somebody's pissed off over there. And it's like hereditary in the game. When you get pissed off, what do? You drill somebody. But the problem is that in that type of game, that kind of close game, I don't believe the Astros would have done that there. They play those guys many a time the following year, just like Batista. They didn't, we had our problems a year later, right? Even though there shouldn't have been. There's no comparison to those things. But I think it's like big government again. You get these umpires too involved. The commissioner's office too involved, man. Let the boys play. Let the boys play? How about it? Let the boys handle it.
Let the boys handle it, exactly. Yeah, it was a little controversial, but yeah, I can understand that. I mean, because it did seem like it wasn't. I mean, when Batista did it, heard around the world, it was just kind of a spontaneous flip. And this guy's just walking down the base. He's holding the bat, and all of a sudden he kind of spikes the bat onto the field, and then he does that slow journey around the bases. So yeah, it was a little too much.
In his psychedelic shoes.
Yeah, the psychedelic shoes.
Hey, that guy, that's another roast I got for you real quick. I'm going to sneak it in.
All right, go ahead. Go for it.
I get everybody wears, they used to have to wear your team's colors like for shoes and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you watch teams, you got the guy, especially when the two most iconic franchises you think of in baseball, at least I do, is the Dodgers and the Yankees, And then you get who's the shortstop or one of the utility guys for Kiko Garcia or whatever for the Dodgers. I'm not sure if that's his name, but he's got like lime green shoes on playing for the Los Angeles Dodgers. But then the worst of the worst, New York Yankees, the clean cut, always have been, the facial hair. You got guys in that team wearing white shoes. Mm. Where the heck is Steinbrenner? Well, Big George, his kids don't seem to care.
He wouldn't have went for it.
But I thought there used to be a policy in baseball and in the major leagues because sponsors' rights. You had to kind of keep a uniform. I guess not. But then I see guys with these like psychedelic shoes. I'm going, no wonder we have problems, for crying out loud. All right, let's get to the toast.
Let's get to the toast, and this week's toast is interesting. The Marlins. GM Kim Ng declined her option this year, but she did some amazing things with the organization. She's one of the brightest executives in baseball. She brought the Marlins back into the playoffs, and for the first time in a full season since 2003. She brought in Skip Schumacher. She's done some amazing things in her run. And for all the accomplishments that she had as a GM, as the first woman GM in Major League Baseball history, and we're sure that she's going to land somewhere and be just as effective. So this week, Gibby, we're going to actually toast Kim Ng for her accomplishments as a GM of the Marlins.
Yeah, great toast, Johnny. I got a chance to make Kim because I went down there and interviewed last year, before they hired Skip, and I really liked her. I'd heard her name and always heard good things about her, but she was really a good person and enjoyed my time interviewing. But just shows you the volatility of the game. That they whatever, they didn't come to agreement. She didn't get an extension. But what's even worse than that is tougher than that, I should say, is the I think his name's James Click. He works for the Blue Jays now. He was the general manager of the Houston Astros last year, and they won the World Series. And their owner down there offered him a 1-year deal, and he refused it. They just won the World Series. What else you got to do? And but that just goes to show, we were talking earlier in the show, everybody's got a boss. The manager's boss is a GM, the GM's boss is the president, and the bottom line, the president's boss is the owner. The owner calls the shots. But we tip our hat to. She did a tremendous job, but that's the nature of the beast. Everybody gets fired or walks away because everybody wants those jobs.
Yeah, they're highly in demand, and there's not very many of them. There's only 30 of them, as there are 30 manager jobs too. So, yes, we do toast Kim Ng.
Corner booths, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
Before we go, Gibby, we want to mention that right now, through October the 27th, ECW Press is offering a very personalized copy of the best-selling book, Gibby, Tales of a Baseball Lifer. It's a great opportunity for those shopping early for the holidays. All you got to do is go to ecwpress.com/Gibby to order your signed and personalized copy of Gibby's best-selling memoir, while supplies last. And finally, Gibby will be appearing in Toronto. You're heading back to Toronto Saturday, November 11th, to appear at the Sports Hockey Expo with guys like Dave Winfield and Tim Raines, other greats of baseball and hockey. Even Mike Tyson will be there, and the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. So it'll be an extravaganza in Toronto. That's Saturday, November 11th. For more information, go to sportscardexpotoronto.com and find out how you can meet Gibby himself. There you go, John. That'll wrap up this edition of The Gibby Show. For John Gibbons, this is John Arezzi. We'll be back next week to talk more postseason baseball with you in the World Series and all the Toronto Blue Jays news. Until then, have a great week, everyone.